I'm sharing. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. Let's see. Okay. We are live now. All right. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a difficulties with technology. Technology loves us, so we're just going to be used to that for a little bit while we get the hang of this. Thank you all for sticking around. My name is Sulema Melendez, and I'm the communication specialist for TMDSAS. And then with us today, we have Enrique Hasso, which is the TMDSAS director. If you want to say hello.
Hello. Thanks,
Alrighty,
thanks
and
for everybody's patience with us.
thank you, everyone, again for that patience. Again, this is like a new way of us transmitting these office hours live. They used to be on Facebook, but now we're trying something new with YouTube on the YouTube channel that we have, as well as being broadcast on our Inside Health Education newsroom. So hopefully we'll get the hang of that. We'll pass along the information and details to watch live on those platforms. But in the meantime, we wanted to go ahead and get started since we are a little bit behind. We are exactly 1 month away from the school rank preference deadline, which is February 18th at 5 p.m. Central Time. So we want to go ahead and go over what that is, where to find your, where you can make the selection for your rankings, what to consider when selecting your rankings as well. This is a topic that we get a lot of questions about, so we want to go ahead and address as much as we can now and provide an opportunity for anyone to ask their questions live. So we'll go ahead and then just a reminder, if you have any questions, enter them into the chat and we'll take a look at it probably towards the end and we'll answer those questions as well as some questions that we know are the most popular right now and we'll go ahead and address those as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. Enrique, if you want to go ahead and let us know what the school rank preference is.
Sure. So the school rank preference is a way that you, as the applicant, as a medical applicant, I should specify, goes in and ranks each one of the schools at which you have interviewed. And so what we end up doing with that information is that that's your way of providing feedback for how the TMDSAS match will work. And so you essentially go into the TMDSAS application, and there's a new page that's unlocked for you as soon as you receive an interview, and we're notified that that interview is taking place. That page unlocks for you, and you go in and you are able to say, I want this school to be my number one choice. I want this school to be my number 8 or 10 choice. And you go in and you determine, how those are ranked. The reason why you do this is because for medical applicants that are Texas residents, we run a TMDSAS match, which is essentially an algorithm that uses this list that you've provided, your preference rank list, or your preference list, and then the schools also submit a similar list of all of the applicants that they've interviewed, called the rank list. And so we put all these into the algorithm, and it creates the TMDSAS match at the end. So that is the very in a nutshell explanation for it. It's a lot more nuanced in terms of strategy for you, and how you should go in and determine how you're going to rank your schools, how the school's ranking actually affects the outcome of the match. So let's say in a bright scenario, all of the schools rank you as their number one choice, which would be almost impossible. And so let's say each one of the schools wants you, and you would go into your TMDSAS rank, match preference rather, and say, I want this school to be my number one, my number two, number three, blah, blah, blah. And then when we put those into the TMDSAS algorithm, what would happen is because all the schools ranked you as their number one choice, you would be the tiebreaker to determine, I want to match at school 1, because that's my top choice. And then you would end up matching there. Now, nothing is that perfect. And so there's a lot more nuance to it. If you are interested in learning more about the TMDSAS match, we do have a video on YouTube that explains different scenarios that happen in the TMDSAS match. For example, if you end up matching to your third choice school, your application is still active at your first and second choice school, but every other school that you ranked later would no longer be in consideration. Or if you have a pre-match offer, how that comes into play. But at the end of the day, ranking your schools in your preference is going to be the most important part of the application, because this is your input into where you would like to go. So don't weigh that decision lightly. This is where you really come in and you say, you know what, this school was great because they match the culture that I want to attend. The curriculum is great for the career aspirations that I have. The research that they do aligns with my own interests. The staff was really friendly, and that's something that's important to me. The location was great. There's a Whataburger across the street, or they were playing my favorite George Strait song when I went to go visit the school, and that's a sign for me. Whatever it is that is important to you during your interviews, when you're actually visiting the schools or when you're actually doing your research about the schools, that's what you should be putting into consideration. I mean, at the end of the day, these are schools that you are going to attend for 4 years, and so at the end of the day, like, this is your opportunity. But I think something that folks should kind of keep in mind in perspective is, the best medical school is the medical school that you end up at. And everybody's going to give you the same opportunity to match your career aspirations. But what you need to do on your end is to make sure that you are taking these rankings with the severity, with the importance that they weigh, because it's very important for you to put in that time to really reflect on where it is that you want to go.
Yeah, so thank you so much for explaining that, Enrique. I did want to go ahead and mention that in the chat, I entered the link for the article that is basically inspired by, the inspiration came from the article to create this office hour, but it basically goes into detail. Everything that we're going to cover, everything that you need to know about how to rank your schools will be on there. More information about the match and pre-match offers, the link for that information is there as well. And the YouTube channel, YouTube video that Enrique mentioned earlier about the different scenarios that come into play with your pre-match offers and how ranking those schools can look like on your end. And we did get a question as to where we can find those rankings, where we can find that page, and that's actually what we're going to go into now. So I'm going to share with you guys a short demo tutorial of how that's going to look like on your end. So just give me just a second while I bring up that page and then share my screen with you guys. Okay, so I believe you guys can see that now. I'm in the portal. So I do have my sample application. All right, and so now that I'm in the TMDSAS application portal, as you will see over here on the right-hand side, we have the home page, pending actions. This is where we're going to find the school rank preference. I did want to make a note that this page does come up only once the schools have changed your application status to interviewed. So only then will you be able to find this page in your portal. I have my notes on the side here really quick just to make sure. All right, and so I'll click on the page. I went ahead and already entered the sample numbers in here as to what a possible scenario can look like if let's say I already interviewed at a couple of schools, but these two schools have already updated that information on their end. This is what the schools do. They update those statuses on their end. So it's not Team DSCS, it is the schools who make this update and change your application to interviewed. That way they can then show up on this page. So as you can see, I already have two schools. Ranking is pretty easy. So you just enter 1, 2, 3, however many you have. Ideally, like Enrique said, in a perfect world, you would have all 13 schools on there, which would be nice. But for now, this is just two schools, 1 and 2. And so you'll click, once you've made your thoughts, this is what I want to rank, you click on save and submit. So don't be afraid of this button because I know we get a lot of questions about this. So save and submit is just essentially a save button. You're not technically submitting anything yet, just because it will be automatically logged in on 5 p.m. Central Time, Friday, February 18th. That's whenever these preferences will lock in. That's what is submitted for you automatically at 5 p.m. Central Time on Friday, February the 18th. And so for now, you can make changes as many as you would like. The schools will keep, let's say I keep interviewing and the schools keep updating this information on their end. So more schools could possibly show up on this page. And so it'll be important for you to keep checking this page often. as you know that you've had interviews, and then just making any kind of changes as necessary. So I may be changing these numbers, but just know that it's fine. You just need to click save and submit your preferences, which is essentially just your save button. So that'll be fine. And then another thing to keep in mind is after this day, February 18th at 5 p.m. Central Time, this page will go away. So there's no way to actually go back and check what your rankings were. So we definitely, and highly recommend that you take a screenshot of this, you print a copy of this page, just so that way you have the rankings preferences for your reference, um, as that page will go away. And let me just double check.
I think it's important to add medical school interviews will not be happening after this date. So by that date, you will have heard from the schools on which you should interview at, and you should have already interviewed by this date. So you have time to actually go in and add the school to your ranking.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying that, Enrique. And so, yes, you will know all the schools that you've already been interviewed at, and so that they will show up on this page definitely by that date. And then sometimes we get questions about the pre-match offer withdrawal page. That is simply something that's updated on the school's end. So any pre-match offers that you have may show up on this page. It's not guaranteed that it's going to happen immediately because there is a delay. Sometimes it's just depending on the admissions offices at the institution and how long and when they update this information. But this page is pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me if there's anything that I need to correct. But this page is whenever a pre-match offer shows up on there, it's mainly if you know for a fact that you don't want to attend this institution, you can go ahead and make that withdrawal on this page if it when it pops up.
Yeah, and for anybody who may not be familiar with the term pre-match offers, these are an offer of admission that a school makes before the TMDSAS match to Texas resident medical school applicants only. And there isn't a significant population of applicants that receive pre-match offers. It's not like most applicants are receiving that. It's not a number like that. But this is essentially the school saying, we have ranked you high up on our list, and you will match here as long as you put us on your preference page, on your preference ranking. So that's essentially what a pre-match offer is. And so the way that these come into play during the TMDSAS match is because you know you're going to match there, you're able to rank some other schools. Let's say school B gave you a pre-match offer, but you really want to go to school A. So you would rank school A as your number one, and then school B, where you have your pre-match offer, as your number two. And so if you end up, if school one ended up liking you, you end up matching there, and then your pre-match offer goes away for school two, and you're already at your top choice school. Whereas if you end up just matching to your second choice, which was your pre-match offer, your school one is still open and available. So as they're going through their list of their wait list, or going through and seeing some movement on the TMDSAS, or I'm sorry, on the admission side, where applicants end up rejecting offers or going to other schools, then that opportunity comes in where you could actually end up at your top choice school, even though they were not the school that you matched to during the TMDSAS match.
Yes, and then we do have for more information about that, if you need a refresher on what that looks like, we I did share their links on there. It's all in there in the as well as the article. There's how to rank your schools article. It also goes over those different scenarios and a link to that video if you need any questions about that as well. But if you have any further questions about this particular page, go ahead and ask the questions in the chat. That it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. You go in here and just 1, 2, and this is just your save button essentially on 5 p.m. Central Time, February 18th. That's whenever those rankings will lock in. And then please don't forget to take a picture of what what your final rankings were on that day, just so that way you have this for your reference, and you can look back to for whatever it is that you need.
Right, because once you submit that, it's gone. And the schools themselves won't even see how you rank them. So if you end up matching to your
That's true.
number, if you end up matching to your number 13 school, they will never know that you rank them as your 13th choice out of 13. But as I mentioned, at the end of the day, the best school is the one that you end up going to. And so weigh these opportunities with the weight that they should be, because this is a pretty big determining factor in terms of your future. But rest assured that we have some amazing schools here in Texas that you'll be able to do whatever it is that you want to do in your career, regardless of which school you end up at. And if you still have some questions about that, we highly encourage you to check out the Courage sessions that we did about a year and a half ago with each one of our member institutions, where we talk about the curriculum at each one of these schools, the things that make them different or unique, as well as some of the unique opportunities that you have by attending these schools, such as dual degree programs, unique curricula, and just some really neat opportunities. So go check those out. They're on our YouTube channel. There's a whole playlist for our Courage sessions, or you can listen to them audio version via the Inside Health Education podcast.
Okay, and we did have a comment in the chat, just to briefly mention that. Uh, Texas Tech El Paso is having a February 17th interview date this year. So correct me if I'm wrong, Enrique, but last year we had a similar school doing holding interviews pretty late, or I think after. It was it was really close to the rankings deadline, but as long as they update that information on their end.
Yeah, we get real close. So for
Okay.
that update, we're probably gonna have to make sure that that school sends their update, and they're all really great at making sure that all the information is up to date as quickly as possible, so that applicants are able to go in and make their ranked selections.
Okay, good. Sometimes I mean, there's a lot of great candidates. That's what it tells me. So that's probably, I'm hoping that's the reason why. But fear not, if you do have the interview, I'm sure the schools will definitely update that. Because they're not out to get you. They'll definitely have your best interest in mind. And so let's see. Let's double check, make sure there's no more questions really quick. Okay. And since we have questions, we'll go ahead and get started on some of the most common questions that we get from applicants during this time over this topic, just to make sure that we can go ahead and answer some of those. And then a question that we often get is when looking at the rank preference list, an applicant may notice that they only have one school on there, but they interviewed at two. So they're wondering how this could be fixed. And again, this is something that the schools need to update on their end. The TMDSAS doesn't change your status or anything like that. It is the schools that have to make this update. So perhaps it's just a matter of the schools getting that information to TMDSAS. Sometimes there is a little bit delay, so don't worry about it. Just don't panic. It's going to be okay, and they'll update that information and it will pop up on the page. Just to make sure to keep checking on that page often. And let's see. All right. And then another question that we typically get about pre-match offers. So does that mean that you have to go to that school? So Enrique, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah. So the pre-match offer is non-binding. So you are able to accept an offer to a school that has offered you a pre-match if you're interested in that school. I think it's important for you to kind of reflect on it and think if you really, there's no scenario where you would ever want to go to that school. We highly recommend that you actually withdraw your application from that school and offer opportunities to other applicants who do want to attend that school. There's no point in sitting on 12 pre-match offers from schools if you know that there are some schools that you would never want to attend. And that's fine. Not each school is for everyone. Whatever is important to you in your school and your rankings is important to you and you alone. And so if you do have multiple pre-match offers, you are welcome to accept them. They are non-binding. The schools may require a deposit on your end, an enrollment deposit in order to accept that. And so at the end of the day, they're non-binding, but you should, again, if you have any inclination that you do not want to attend a specific school, we highly recommend that you withdraw your application and reject the pre-match offer, just to offer other folks the opportunity.
Yes, definitely. And then a way that you can withdraw that, you withdraw your application from that school is by sending a message in your portal. So at the top right-hand corner, it'll have your name, your TMDSA's ID number, and then underneath that, send a message to TMDSAS. Just send a message and let us know what school you would like your application to be withdrawn from, and we can go ahead and get that in quickly for you. Again, just you would also need to reach out to the school just to confirm the withdrawal, and also out of respect and courtesy to not only the school, but other applicants as well. And let's see, another question that we have. So will the other schools know that I got a pre-match offer from a different school, and does that affect my chances of getting other offers? Enrique?
Yeah. So other schools are able to see when you've been accepted at another institution, but that never takes uh, any weight on whether or not you would be considered for that school. So this is part of the agreement that the schools have with TMDSAS, where they are able to see statuses for each other's school. But we do that with the end goal that there are actually certain deadlines that our schools adhere to related to the AMC traffic rules. It essentially means that after a certain date, applicants can't hold multiple offers. So I'm going to do a quick run through of those different dates here. So, of course, our deadline for ranking school preferences is February 18th at 5 o'clock. So after that time, you will no longer be able to go in and access that page. If you, oh, I'm sorry, moving forward, on April 30th, that is the last day that medical applicants with multiple offers of acceptance have to decide to attend or withdraw other schools. So you have to whittle down all of your multiple acceptances to just one choice by April 30th. And then by May 15th, if you already hold an offer at a school, the schools can no longer reach out to make an offer of acceptance to you. And so after that date, the schools, because of all these different deadlines, the schools do need to see whether you've accepted an offer somewhere, but it does not have any bearing as to whether or not you would receive an additional offer to that school. And so, yeah, it's kind of funky in how it all works, but it's for the sake of transparency among the schools and for the sake of equity, so that there are enough applicants out there who receive offers of admission.
Correct. And because you were talking about the dates, I went ahead and entered the link to the important dates that are listed on our website, just for reference, and also the pre-match offers article as well.
So what are the questions that we're getting?
Um, I believe that's it. I'm not exactly sure what BOM.red is. I see that twice in our chat, so I'm not quite sure what that is, but if you can briefly explain or expand on that, just so that way, if it is a question, we can address that for you. Um, we'll go ahead and continue with the list of questions that we already have and that we often see. So again, the pre-match offers are not for, so non-Texas resident medical applicants will not be receiving pre-match offers. It's only applicable to Texas medical resident, sorry, Texas medical applicants who are Texas residents. I might have butchered that a little bit, but essentially it's only for those who are Texas residents. And let's see. And if I apply to a dual degree program, can I still rank the schools in my preference rank page? Yes, if you are a Texas resident medical applicant. Sorry, there's just a lot of words. It's a mouthful. All right, and we do have a article about that, so I can find that real quick and link that information in there as well, because it does expand on what that looks like for dual degree program applicants.
Mhm. And I think it's important to mention as well, if you are interested in kind of hearing direct feedback from current medical school students, Check out our online communities, the TMDSAS Hub on Facebook and the TMDSAS Non-Traditional Applicants Group on Facebook. Both of those have several years of applicants and medical students, dental veterinary students in there who can offer some feedback on why they chose a certain school to be their number one choice, what their experiences have been like, and as well as any resources that the schools may have provided you to make that decision. So highly recommend to check out those groups, especially the one for non-traditional applicants, so you can learn a little bit more about how certain medical students are, handling both raising a family and attending medical school, or what it was like to move, leaving a full-time job to pursue this, and the challenges that you face, because we know that there are a lot of folks out there who don't have access to health professions advisors, who don't have access to peers that can help them with the situation. You are not alone, and that's why these online communities exist. So again, our TMDSAS hub is open to any applicant, and that's on Facebook. And then TMDSAS non-traditional applicants is another group, also available on Facebook. And our team is on there along with several members of our pre-health community made up of advisors, admissions officers, and some deans on there who are ready to answer any questions that you may have. So this isn't an anonymous message board where you're getting questionable feedback. This is actually folks are interested in your success, there to help you.
Okay, thank you, Enrique. I went ahead and entered the link to the medical acceptances for non-Texas residents, as that is typically a question that we get, especially for those who apply with MCAS as well. So that information will be listed in the article as well. But just know that everyone adheres to the traffic rules as set by the AMC. And so everyone, and those are also shown, those deadlines and important dates are also shown in that link provided previously. All right. And so another question we get, Enrique, if you can help us with this question, at what point are offers binding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you, as we mentioned, the TMDSAS match is not necessarily the last date that schools will be extending offers. So offers have been going out. If you're a non-Texas resident, offers of admission will have been going out since last October. Or if you may have received a pre-match offer, those are offers of admission, and those can actually happen all the way till the week before matriculation. So all the way in the fall, some folks may be getting off the wait list. And so it's a pretty long period of time. For some applicants, it may be even more than a full year after they submitted their application. And so don't think that if you don't get a TMDSAS match that's the end of the world. There are still opportunities well after that, and we explain that in the match video. The date at which an acceptance offer is binding is right before you end up matriculating, because that's the point where you've paid your enrollment deposit. You are fully set up to start at that school. You've done your background checks and everything. That's when you are essentially going to that school. And at that point, if you were to drop out, the schools would have to scramble to try to find somebody else. There are certain deadlines, as we mentioned earlier, that you should pay attention to. April 30th is the last day for you to whittle down all of your acceptances to just one acceptance. And then May 15th is the day that the schools can no longer make offers to Texas residents that are holding acceptances at another school. But beyond that, it's still pretty open. So the TMDSAS match offers us an equitable way for the schools to fill up their class, but it also is not the end of the acceptance period. It essentially kickstarts it. And so, as one applicant who matched to their top choice school says, you know what, I really don't want to go here, they withdraw, that position becomes available, and then there's just so much movement that happens. And so, fret not. The TMDSAS match is here, and acceptances are granted, but it's not the end of the cycle by any means.
All right. And so that typically after TMDSAS, the TMDSAS match day, there is a lot of confusion with that, because there's a lot going on, and there's a lot going on with the movement, as Enrique has mentioned, with the schools end, and just making sure that they fill up their class as applicants are moving around and like withdrawing and accepting other offers. So I did want to mention that there is going to be a match day article. It's in the works right now. It is going to go into detail as to what to expect on this day and moving forward. So it'll address those typical questions that we get, as we've seen in previous cycles, as to what happens next, wait lists, any of the most questions that top questions that we get are going to be addressed in that article. So just be on the lookout for that, and it'll be out published close to match day. So just know that there is more information coming along. So just know that you're not alone, and we will be addressing those questions for you. And then lastly, I did want to touch a little bit on the transcript requests that come with those pre-match offers. So as the schools let us know who has received a pre-match offer, who has been accepted, and whatnot, we get those email requests sent out to applicants requesting transcripts that may now be sent in. As you know, our policy is to wait until those are requested to send those in to TMDSAS. So as you get accepted, please know that there will just be on the lookout for an email in your inbox, if not possibly in your junk or spam folders. But it is an email from info@teamdsas.com letting you know that it's time to send in those transcripts. Information on how to send those will be located in that email. I believe there is a link that sends you directly to our page about transcripts and how to send those in and frequently asked questions. But please note that there is in the email, it does mention something about 30 days, sending your transcripts within 30 days. That's not a hard deadline, so don't panic if your transcripts will come in later after that time. That is just the preferred time frame that Team DSAs will like to receive your transcripts to go ahead and get that process started on your application. And there is a little bit of a wait time, so electronic transcripts do take about 7 to 10 business days to process and be uploaded to your application. And the mailed in transcripts take about 21 business days. So just take a note of that when you send out your transcripts, and calculate how long it'll take for you to receive an email confirmation. So we won't necessarily let you know once Team DSAS has officially received your transcripts. We will let you know once they have finished processing and have been uploaded to your application. Only then will you receive an email notification that it's on your application and that we have it, and not to worry about it. And so just wanted to briefly mention that, because as we are getting all these updates from the schools, we are getting a lot of transcripts and a lot of questions about those. And so again, we won't let you know once we have it. We will let you know once they have finished processing and have been uploaded on your application. Just keep in mind those time frames, so that way you can calculate when you are most likely to receive an email notification. If you don't receive anything at that point, do let us know, and you can contact us via the message portal in your messaging system in your application portal.
And once again, we don't you don't submit your transcripts until they're requested. For our dental and medical applicants, that's when you receive an offer of acceptance. And for our veterinary applicants, that's when you are interviewed.
All right, and so let me just double check. We don't have any additional questions in the chat. But again, feel free to send us a message in your portal. That is the best way to communicate with TMDSAS, and we will have someone get to your message and respond back for any questions. I believe we put in all the information as well for articles and videos and important dates. So definitely check those out. And the recording for this video will be available on the YouTube channel and in the Inside Health Education newsroom as a podcast as well. So you can not only watch it again, but you can also listen to it while you're driving or whatever it is that you're doing that you may think that you have time for listening to the podcast. And it's not that long, so it shouldn't take a lot of your time. Alrighty, I believe that's it. I don't see any other questions in the chat. So the next office hour that we will have will also cover the GPAs and transcripts. So again, the most tough questions that we've been receiving in the last couple of weeks, we will compile that into the next office hour, which will be on Monday. Let me get the date right. Monday the 24th, and hopefully no technical issues this time around. So it'll be at 12 p.m. Central Time. If not, maybe just 12:10. But just know that we will have the office hour. We will make it work as we usually do. And if you want to have any closing statements before we wrap this up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of anxiety around every single step of this process, and it's well warranted. And so we at TMDSAS really put in our best effort to make sure that you have all the information that you need to make the best decisions for you. If you need additional assistance about strategy, what it is that you should be doing on your end to make a more competitive application, we highly encourage you to take advantage of the resources that you have available at your school with your pre-health advisors, with any career centers that can help you with fine-tuning your interview skills and any other services like that. If you do not have access to a health professions advisor, or you don't know who your health professions advisor is at your institution, we highly encourage you to check out the National Association of Advisors for the Health Professions. And we're going to go ahead and share a link here so that you can actually go in and identify who your advisor is, or request to be paired with a volunteer advisor. And so we went ahead and put that link here in the chat. I misspelled advisor, so I'm going to put it again. Find an advisor. And so through this link, again, you can find who your advisor is and get their contact information, or you could actually request to be paired with a volunteer advisor who is made up of a team of folks who are there and ready to help, who are also health professions advisors or retired advisors who just want to continue to help students meet their career goals as aspiring health professionals. And so if there's anything for you to take away from today, it's to know that, yes, this is a stressful situation, but we are here to help every step of the way. Again, if you have any questions or want to get some more information from current students, or how folks have ranked their own, what folks have considered as part of their rankings, go visit our online communities, the TMDSAS Hub or the TMDSAS Non-Traditional Applicants groups. Reach out to your health professions advisor about different strategies you should be using, especially if you have a pre-match offer and you're not quite sure how to rank your schools. Check out all of the links and videos that Suleyman shared in the chats here. These will be available to you in all of our recordings and on the podcast as well for you to check out. And then again, if you have any questions about anything here, please reach out to us here. The TMDSAS support team is phenomenal in making sure that you have all of your questions addressed. So it's daunting, it's scary, but we'll all get through this together.
Yes, exactly. Most
Yeah.
definitely, it is a stressful time of the year, and especially because you are also still in school, you're, also still working, have other responsibilities outside of just your application. So it can be a lot and it can be stressful, but just know that there are resources, and if there's not, we'll definitely ask questions, and we will continue on helping with the development of those resources to make sure you have everything you need to answer any of your questions. So we'll go ahead and just wrap it up. One last thing I wanted to share is for next week with the next office hour that we have, will also be on YouTube live at 12 p.m. Central Time on Monday. But you could also watch on the Inside Health Education newsroom. And I went ahead and entered the link in there as well. And then don't just also take the opportunity to take a look at what's there at the in the Inside Health Education newsroom. There's a lot of articles. There's a ton of information that's out there, and this is basically the go-to resource hub, if you might say. But there's definitely a lot of information there, and that's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and some great articles that have been published recently is, having a bad GPA is not the end of the world. Some New Year's resolutions that our partners at the AAMC have shared to help you on your pre-med journey, along with some tips for TMDSAS as well. And then some additional information about schools. We did a whole series on virtual tours, so you have a direct link to those, and just some amazing resources available on there. Just remember, you're not alone in this.
Alrighty, well, that's it. I don't see any additional questions on our chat, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And thank you all for joining, for being patient, and we'll see you guys next time. All right,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.